Everyone thinks I'm lucky because I'm rich, but I feel lonely almost every day.
We don't have much money, but every morning I get to spend time with my dad. Why was Lily always smiling when she had so much less than me?
Then one day I finally realized what Lily had that I didn't.
12-year-old Sophia Williams opened her eyes as sunlight streamed through the large windows of her luxurious bedroom. Her room was bigger than some people's houses. Expensive toys filled the shelves. A giant television hung on the wall. A collection of designer dresses occupied one corner. Everything looked perfect, but Sophia simply stared at the ceiling. A few moments later, a maid knocked gently on her door. "Good morning, Sophia. Breakfast is ready." Sophia nodded. "Thank you." She got out of bed and prepared for school. As she walked downstairs, she found her father sitting at the dining table. Richard Williams was one of the most successful businessmen in the city. His company employed hundreds of people. His picture often appeared in newspapers. His phone never stopped ringing. Sophia smiled when she saw him. "Good morning, Dad." Richard looked up briefly from his laptop. "Morning, sweetheart." He immediately returned to reading emails. Sophia sat down. She waited. Maybe today he would talk to her. Maybe today he would ask about school. Maybe today would be different. But after a few minutes, Richard's phone rang. He answered immediately. "Yes, schedule the meeting for 10. Sophia quietly ate her breakfast. A few minutes later, Richard stood up. "I have to go." He kissed the top of her head. "Have a good day." Then he left. Sophia watched him walk away. The huge dining room suddenly felt empty. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, 12-year-old Lily Carter woke up in a small bedroom. The paint on the walls was old. The furniture was simple, but the room was clean. And most importantly, it felt warm. The smell of breakfast drifted through the house. Lily smiled. Only one person cooked breakfast every morning. Her father. David Carter stood in the kitchen flipping eggs in a frying pan. His work boots sat near the door. His construction uniform was already prepared. "Morning, sleepyhead," he said. Lily laughed. "You always wake up before me." "That's because somebody has to make breakfast." She sat down. The meal was simple. Eggs, bread, and tea. Nothing fancy, but they enjoyed every bite together. David asked about school. Lily told him about a science project. David listened carefully. Even though he often came home tired from work, he always found time for his daughter. When breakfast ended, they walked toward school together. The morning air was cool. David carried his lunch box. Lily carried her backpack. They talked the entire way. When they reached the school gate, David smiled. "Have a great day." "You too, Dad." She hugged him before entering school. As David walked away, Lily smiled. She never felt embarrassed that her father worked construction. She was proud of him. At school, Sophia arrived in a luxury car driven by a chauffeur. Students watched the vehicle pull up. Some admired it, others stared. Sophia stepped out quietly. She would have traded that expensive car for a simple walk with her father. Inside the classroom, she took her seat. A few rows away sat Lily. Sophia had noticed her before. Lily never seemed unhappy. She always smiled. She always greeted people kindly. She always looked content. Sophia couldn't understand why. During lunch break, the two girls ended up sitting near each other. Sophia noticed Lily, opening a simple lunch container. Nothing special, just homemade food. Yet Lily looked happy. Sophia finally asked, "You always seem cheerful." Lily smiled. "Really?" "Yes." Lily shrugged. "I guess I just have a lot to be thankful for." Sophia looked surprised. Lily wasn't rich. She didn't have expensive clothes. She didn't arrive in a fancy car. Yet she seemed happier than many wealthy students. Over the next few weeks, the girls slowly became friends. Not instantly, not overnight. One conversation led to another. Then another. Soon they were talking during lunch breaks. Sophia learned about Lily's life. Lily learned about Sophia's. One afternoon, Lily asked a question. "Do you and your dad spend a lot of time together?" Sophia hesitated. "Not really." "Why?" "He's always working." Lily nodded politely. She didn't know what to say. The next day, their teacher entered the classroom carrying several papers. The room became quiet. The teacher smiled. Today I want to ask all of you a question. Everyone listened carefully. If you could spend one perfect day with someone, who would it be? Hands immediately went up around the room. Students mentioned friends, siblings, grandparents, and favorite celebrities. Then the teacher pointed at Lily. What about you? Lily answered without hesitation. My father. The teacher smiled. And why? Because he's my favorite person. Several students smiled. Then the teacher turned toward Sophia. What about you? Sophia froze. For a moment she didn't know what to say. Then she quietly answered, my father too, but something about her voice sounded different. As the lesson continued, Sophia couldn't stop thinking. If she had one perfect day with her father, what would they even do together? She wasn't sure. That realization made her uncomfortable. Near the end of class, the teacher announced a new assignment. I want each of you to write an essay about the person you admire most. The students began talking excitedly. You may choose anyone, the teacher continued. A parent, a grandparent, a teacher, anyone who inspires you. That evening Lily immediately knew who she would choose. Her father. The choice was easy. Sophia also chose her father. But for a very different reason. Lily sat at the kitchen table writing page after page. Memories flowed naturally. Walking to school, birthday celebrations, bedtime talks. Words came easily. Across town, Sophia sat alone in her large bedroom. A blank sheet of paper lay in front of her. She picked up her pen. Then put it down. She tried again. Nothing came. Minutes passed. Then an hour. The page remained empty. Sophia stared at it. For the first time, she realized something that made her heart sink. She didn't know what to write. Because despite living in the same house, she barely knew her own father. Sophia sat quietly in her bedroom. The blank sheet of paper remained in front of her. For the first time in her life, she realized something painful. She didn't know what to write about her father. It wasn't because she disliked him. She loved him, very much. The problem was that she barely knew him. She knew he owned a company. She knew he attended important meetings. She knew he traveled often. But she didn't know his favorite food. She didn't know what he liked to do for fun. She didn't know his favorite childhood memory. And suddenly, that realization hurt. Sophia looked around her huge bedroom. The expensive toys, the designer clothes, the newest gadgets, they were everywhere. Yet at that moment, she would have traded all of them for one simple evening with her father. Downstairs, Richard Williams was still working in his home office. Sophia stared at the empty page for a long time before finally writing a few words. Then she stopped again. The words didn't feel right. Nothing felt right. Meanwhile, across town, Lily sat beside her father at the kitchen table. David was repairing an old flashlight while Lily finished her essay. She smiled as she wrote. Every sentence reminded her of a happy memory. The day her father taught her how to ride a bicycle. The night they sat outside watching stars. The time he worked overtime just so she could have school supplies. Lily filled page after page. When she finally finished, she looked proudly at her work. David smiled. Done already? Lily nodded. Yes. Can I read it? She grinned. Not yet. David laughed. Fair enough. The next morning, both girls arrived at school. The teacher collected the essays. Presentation day would be held on Friday. As the week passed, Sophia became nervous. Very nervous. She had managed to finish her essay. But unlike Lily's, it felt incomplete. Every time she read it, she felt something was missing. Friday finally arrived. The classroom buzzed with excitement. Students sat upright in their seats. The teacher stood at the front. Today, some of you will read your essays aloud. Several students smiled. Others looked nervous. The teacher called a few names. Then she looked toward Lily. Lily Carter. Lily stood up. She carried her paper to the front of the classroom. Taking a deep breath, she began reading. My father is the person I admire most. The classroom became quiet. Lily spoke about David's hard work. She spoke about his kindness. She spoke about how he always listened whenever she had a problem. She described their walks to school, their simple breakfasts together, the way he encouraged her whenever she felt discouraged. As she continued reading, many students listened carefully. Even the teacher seemed emotional. By the time Lily finished, the classroom erupted in applause. The teacher smiled warmly. That was beautiful, Lily. Lily returned to her seat. Sophia looked down at her own paper. Her stomach tightened. Then the teacher called her name. Sophia Williams. Sophia slowly stood. Her hands trembled slightly. She walked to the front. For a moment, she simply stared at the paper. Then she began. My father is the person I admire most. The room remained silent. Sophia talked about her father's success. His company. His achievements. His hard work. Then her voice slowed. She looked up. Her eyes began to water. I know my father loves me. The room was completely silent. He buys me everything I need. She paused. And everything I want. Another pause. But, her voice shook. If I could choose between all those gifts and spending one full day with him. Tears filled her eyes. I would choose the day. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Even the teacher looked emotional. Sophia continued. My father gives me everything. She wiped away a tear. Except time. The room fell completely silent. Several students lowered their heads. Others looked emotional. When Sophia finished reading, she quietly returned to her seat. No one laughed. No one judged her. Instead, many students understood exactly how she felt. The teacher gently thanked her. What Sophia didn't know was that the presentation had been recorded. Later that afternoon, the teacher reviewed the recording. Sophia's words stayed in her mind. That evening, after thinking carefully, she decided to send the recording to Richard Williams. Richard was sitting alone in his office when the message arrived. He almost ignored it. He was busy, as always, but something made him open the video. He pressed play. At first, he watched casually. Then he saw Sophia standing at the front of her classroom. He watched her struggle to speak. He watched her fight back tears. Then he heard the words. If I could choose between all those gifts and spending one full day with him, I would choose the day. Richard froze. The video continued. My father gives me everything, except time. The words hit him like a punch. For several moments, he simply sat there, silent, thinking. For years he had convinced himself he was doing everything for Sophia. Every meeting, every business trip, every late night, he thought he was building a better future for her. But now he realized something painful. He had been providing for her, but he hadn't truly been present. That night, Richard barely slept. The next morning, something unusual happened. Sophia came downstairs expecting the usual routine. Instead, she found her father sitting at the breakfast table. No laptop, no phone, no meetings, just him. Good morning, sweetheart. Sophia looked surprised. Good morning. Richard smiled. Want to have breakfast together? Sophia blinked. Really, really. For the first time in a long time, they sat together and talked. Not about work, not about schedules, just about life, school, friends, dreams. The conversation felt natural and wonderful. Over the following weeks, Richard began making changes. Not dramatic changes overnight, small changes, realistic changes. He attended school events. He helped Sophia with homework. He ate dinner with her more often. Sometimes they simply sat and talked. The relationship slowly grew stronger. And with every passing week, Sophia smiled more. Several months later, the school announced a special Father-Daughter Day celebration. Families gathered on the school grounds. Children laughed. Parents chatted. Lily arrived with David. Sophia arrived with Richard. As the event continued, the two fathers finally met. David shook Richard's hand. Richard smiled. You've raised a wonderful daughter. David smiled back. So have you. Nearby, Sophia and Lily laughed together. The two girls had no idea how much their friendship had changed their fathers' lives. As the event ended, families gathered for a group photo. Sophia stood beside her father. Lily stood beside hers. Both girls smiled. Both fathers smiled. And for the first time in a very long time, everyone felt complete. Narrator. One father had money. The other had time. In the end, both fathers learned the same lesson. Children do not measure love by the size of a house. They measure it by the moments they share with the people they love. Lesson of the story. Money can buy comfort. Money can buy gifts. Money can buy many things. But money cannot replace love, attention, and time. Sometimes the greatest gift a parent can give a child is simply being there. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching this story. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. And remember, the richest family is not always the one with the most money. Sometimes, it is the one with the most love.